Hello, I'm David D. Hilster. I am a critical thinker, a dissident scientist, and I'm here to tell you the truth about science, something your university professors won't tell you, the mass media won't tell you, and certainly those science evangelists will not tell you. I'm going to talk about two things today that are very important in scientific debate. Something over the last 2 decades we have learned in the NPA and CNPS what works in debate and what doesn't. And two things that are extremely important in debate and critical thinking are the vocabulary we use and emotion. The vocabulary we use, we find out that if you are a person who's been working in isolation, which happens to us often, a person will find our group, they've been working on their own theory or their own model for many, many years, and they come to our group and then they will give a presentation to our group. One of the things that happens, and I call this the newbie effect in our group, is that they use their own sort of vocabulary. They've lived in a bubble for a long time. They start to use their vocabulary and they talk about things using their words. They start using words that we associate with certain things like time or energy or space or fields, and they use them in certain ways. And of course, they may have new things that they have in their model, which they'll give new names, and that's okay. The problem comes in this bubble is they start to create their own world and their own vocabulary. They start to change what is commonly known and understood by as very basic words in physics. And when they do that, they will say, well, no, no, no. In my model, I use energy and it's a thing. Well, there's many problems with that. There's many problems in the fact that once you understand and you talk with many people with many different ideas, if everybody is using the same word but have completely different meanings, how can anybody communicate? You can't. You can say, okay, well, in your world, I'll use this world. No, there are going to be what we have found out over the years, and we've had great people like Glenn Borkert, and I follow a lot of his stuff because I'm a linguist. I try to get computers to understand language, so I'm very careful as to what words are. Borkert and other people like him and myself over the last 10 years, 15 years, we started to realize, and we are being told and being taught, and we thought about it, that truly there are mostly concepts in physics and very few things that you can say that are really physical. A person says that energy is real, and if you're a newbie person in their world and they've come up with their vocabulary, they say, well, no, energy to me is this plasma, which is this. Well, energy has a certain meaning, and it's a concept. We know that is not something that is real. If you say, well, no, it is real, we are going to beg to differ with you. You can call something a physical thing, and let's say everything in the world is made out of crosses. So if everything's made out of cross and you call that cross an energy, maybe in your vocabulary, but it's going to be really confusing for other people. And if you have other words that you use that are very different, that are common words that are very different from the CNPS today, you are going to get pushback for that. We're going to say no, for all of us to remain sane. The basic words are going to hopefully mean the same thing. Space is space is space. The moment you say, in my model, space bends, people are going to say, nope, space is by definition this place where matter exists and moves. But space itself, yes, you can have things in space. So we will correct maybe a newbie to say, okay, but you're not saying space bends, you're saying there's something in space, and this has some type of, I don't know, bending if it's a lattice. And there are people who have lattice theories that things are literally like lattices, and yeah, those things can bend with force. Cool, but people have to understand that's the lattice bending. It's not space-time, which is a real problematic term because time is really movement, has to do with movements and action. Time is something that's happening. Space isn't anything you put. How can you put those together? You can't. But again, what's important is the people in our group have been together for decades. We realize that basic words in physics should remain the same between all of us. And then in your theory, if you have a toroid in your theory, if you have particles in your theory. For instance, our particle model has, because light goes at the speed of c, electricity a lot of times goes close to the speed of c, gravity goes to the speed of c. Yes, there are experiments and different thing. Oh, we're not going to talk about that today. Yes, we have evidence for that. Then we could give it all the same particle, and we call it the G1 particle. So it's not the electron, but it replaces the electron. It's not the graviton, it replaces the graviton. It's not the photon, it replaces the photon. So in our model, we can say that, and people say, oh, that's your G1. That's cool. But if in your model you have something and you start talking about it with common vocabulary, and you say, nope, in my model, in my bubble, I've made this vocabulary, meaning it is not going to be reset. It's not only going to be not well received, it's not going to be understood. So we need to learn to use and understand this vocabulary. Most everything we talk about are concepts. Energy is a concept. Force is a concept. Charge is a concept. Fields are a concept. All these things. So you can think about it all you want. You're the one who's going to decide. But we have found in our experience that it just doesn't work. The second thing I want to talk about today is emotion and debate. The moment someone says, show me, it doesn't even matter what they say after that. What that means is it's a command. It's meaning, I am emotionally mad at you, so prove it. No, even if you're a critical thinker, the way you should do it is say, okay, you say this, but what's your proof? Not prove it. Show me. Dave, you only talk about this. Show me details. You point to this paper, but I don't want to read it. I want you to be an audio book. Sorry, I couldn't resist that. I have people in my comments saying, give me something, and I point you to a whole database of stuff. Go search it. You've got something you're interested, fine. The other people are trying to cherry pick. They think, okay, let's bring them down. Bring them up, Dave. This one's my evidence against. Oh, we killed it. Okay, second piece of. Oh, we killed it. See, Dave, you're crazy. You're a crackpot. Emotion, if it's in there, if it's in your arguments, if you get mad at what I say, there's two things going on. Most of the time, that means something I'm saying has some truth to it, because when people get mad, it's usually when you tell them the truth, not when you tell them something that's a lie. Usually a lie you laugh at. And that's what some people will try to do. But critical thinkers do not attack emotionally. And if you do, you have become emotionally attached to your world view. And that is so dangerous. If you're very confident in it, then you can keep repeating it to someone, like expansion tectonics. A lot of us have been talking about all the massive evidence for this. And once in a while, somebody come up and says, hey, Dave, 3 years ago, I didn't believe any of this. I took a look at myself. Oh, they were a critical thinker. And that critical thinker tells me, yeah, I see your point. I really have to say expansion tectonics is a much better model. Yes, we don't know what mass increase or why that happens. Yes, people can say there's subduction and they say they use it. Okay, whatever. But the overwhelming evidence is there. Because what do? We talk about it. A person then thinks about it and they go forward. So vocabulary matters. If you use common terms, listen to people like ourselves who've been around a lot of people, a lot of different art, and we have fought. People have thrown coffee on each other. That was back in 1996. I saw somebody throw some coffee at another person in the NPA. We have people going up the boards and talking very strongly and being very emotional about it. That's okay. You can be emotional, but you have to understand that gets in the way of progress. And I don't put it, we're emotional people. I mean, emotional people are emotional. It's part of our DNA. But when it comes to science, if you can keep that cold-hearted engineer Apollo landing, they don't care what your equation. Well, my equation says that this is impossible. Of course, there are 3 men out in space that you're trying to say. And the guy who's in charge is going to go, Well, you can say it's impossible, and you can tell me all the universities in the world will tell you they're going to die. But I'm not accepting that answer because we need a solution. That kind of engineering cold attitude. If you are not emotionally attached to what you're doing, you are a true critical thinker and you are a true scientist. So remember what I always say, don't take what anyone says on faith, not even me. Stay critical, stay thinking. I'm your science therapist. Why am I therapist? Because our emotion gets in the way, and a lot of our vocabulary in our little worlds that we build also get in the way. I hope that gives you some insight and starts to make you catch your own problems and start to become more and more the critical thinker that you could always be. Ciao for now.